Today, folks, we're going to be taking a look back at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2022 draft class and their rookie seasons, and I'm going to be dishing out some grades based on how I think these players' rookie seasons went. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into it. With the 33rd overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected defensive lineman Logan Hall. And when he was drafted, at the time, I guess I should say, there was an expectation that Logan Hall could possibly be a starter on this team. And Ndamukong Suh had left in free agency. The Buccaneers had not gotten anybody yet to that point to replace Hall. Now things changed. They did end up signing Akiem Hicks, who was tabbed as the main starter along the defensive line, and Logan Hall was put as a rotational defensive lineman. And, firstly, looking at the snap count here, Logan Hall did end up playing 35% of the defensive snaps this year, and he also played in 16% of special team snaps as well. So literally by definition, Hall was a rotational piece this year. And all in all, he put up some, I would say, fine stats overall. You look at, some of his pass rushing stats. First off, I believe he was seventh in quarterback hits on the team, or I guess I should say tied for fourth on quarterback hits for the team with 6. It is a very long way tie between Anthony Nelson, Shaq Barrett, Carl Nassib, Antoine Winfield Jr. Logan Hall is tied for 4th with that. In terms of tackles for loss, he was 8th, finishing on the team. And then also in terms of sacks, I believe he finished 9th on the team. So all in all, he put up stats like you would see from a rotational defensive lineman. And that was the expectation for Logan Hall, right? He wasn't going to be the main starter. That was going to be Akiem Hicks. And, kind of ironically enough, Logan Hall did barely end up playing a little bit more than Akiem Hicks throughout the season. Akiem Hicks finished with 35.59% of defensive snaps this year. Logan Hall finished with 35.95% of defensive snaps. A lot of that was injury related as well with Hicks. But I thought Hall did fine in his rookie year. I gave him a C+ grade. Really excited to see what the young rookie can do in the future. I guess the young player, he's not a rookie anymore, can do in the future. Could be a very strong rotational guy. Could even be put in the starting lineup next year, depending on what happens with Akiem Hicks and Will Golston. Both those guys have expiring contracts this offseason. So Logan Hall is definitely a guy worth paying attention to and has some pretty good potential, in my opinion, moving forward. Next, you have offensive lineman Luke Goedeke, taken with the 57th overall pick in the most recent NFL draft. And yeah, I'm just going to be completely honest, I gave this one a D grade. And it's a darn shame because I like Luke Goedeke and the attitude and the demeanor that he brings to this offensive line. He's a really down in the dirt type of guy who is going to fight and grind with the best of them, but he played only 43% of offensive snaps this year, and whenever he was seeing game time action as a starter throughout the first half of the season, it was a pretty rough go, man. He did end up starting 8 games this year. He did start week 18 and week 19 as well. And then he did start the first 7 weeks for the Bucs before eventually getting replaced by Nick Leverett. Now, that was due to injury, but all in all, it would have been time to make a move anyway because Goedeke did struggle mightily throughout the first half of the season. And I will say, he had some pretty tough matchups, right? He was going up against some of the best interior pass rushers in the league, guys like Grady Jarrett, guys like Kenny Clark, guys like Cameron Hayward, guys like Chris Jones. Those were, 4 players that Goedeke faced back to back to back to back. 4 weeks in a row, he went up against arguably 4 of the top interior pass rushers in the entire league. So those are some very tough matchups for a rookie. But whenever you consider Goedeke was taken in the second round, you definitely hope things would have gone, certainly a little bit better, all things considered, but certainly not ready to give up on Goedeke yet. He did have a rough rookie year, all things considered, but I definitely think he can improve. But with that being said, I gave him a D. He was benched mid-season, struggled mightily before he got benched, and also was dealing with some injuries as well. Afterwards, he was not able to return as a starter because the Buccaneers decided to move forward with Nick Leverett. So that is what it is. Then, in the third round with the 91st overall pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected a running back by the name of Rachaad White, who, ironically enough, played the second least amount of snaps on offense out of all the offensive rookies taken in this draft by the Bucs. White only finished with 38.57% of offensive snaps, which is a pretty darn shame because I think White actually did a pretty decent job this year. 481 rushing yards, only one rushing touchdown, but he did get his first touchdown rushing in the NFL. In terms of receiving yards, wasn't necessarily great. Only finished with 290 yards. That was good for 7th on the team. 2 receiving touchdowns as well. That was also good for 7th on the team. But in terms of targets, Tom Brady threw to his running backs a lot this year, and Rachaad White was certainly one of them. Rachaad White finished with 50 targets this year. That was more than Cade Otton, Julio Jones, Scotty Miller, and Camarda. 50 receptions. That is more than Cade Otton, Julio Jones, Scotty Miller, and Cameron Brate. He then finished with 58 targets. Cade Otton did have more, but that was still good for 6th on the team. So the usage rate of Rachaad White, I think, was pretty good, and I think that we are only going to see things improve. I gave White a B. I think that overall he had a solid rookie season, and he is definitely going to improve. Who knows what's going to happen with Leonard Fournette, whatever that situation may be, but White has definitely proven that he can be, at the very least, a very solid, very capable change of pace back that can get you some solid statistics throughout the year when he is needed. That is why I gave him a B for a 3rd round pick. Hey, not bad at all. Then in the 4th round, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took tight end Cade Otton with their first 4th round pick at number 106. I gave this a B as well. Cade Otton, he was 5th on the team in targets. I think that is pretty good for a 4th round pick. He was 6th in terms of receptions, and then in receiving yards, he was 5th as well with 391. He ended up playing 66.4% of the Buccaneers' offensive snaps this year. The Bucs did sorely miss Rob Gronkowski. I cannot stress that enough, that Cade Otton, was not Rob Gronkowski, but all in all, I think that given the circumstances of this situation and they had to get something out of the tight end position, Cade Otton did fine for a 4th round pick, and I think a little bit above expectations for a 4th round pick. Now, could he improve? Certainly. There's definitely some things that could improve in terms of a receiver. He did have some drops here or there throughout the year, maybe missed a block here or there as well, but all in all, Cade Otton is looking to be, I would say at the very least, a league average to possibly even an above average tight end in the NFL, and for a 4th round pick, that's pretty much exceeding expectations in my opinion. So good job, Cade Otton. Overall, had a very solid rookie season. Next, with the 133rd overall pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took punter Jake Camarda, and I give this one an A grade. I think that Jake Camarda had a fantastic rookie season, all things considered. A lot of people criticized this move with taking a punter in the 4th round. A lot of people were very critical and saying, what are Jason Light and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers doing? Terrible. But I think that Jake Camarda really did have a fantastic year this year. He played hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. He played in, it's not going to show me, but he obviously played in a very healthy amount of special team snaps this year. That is to be expected from the punter of your football team. He played in 49.13% of special team snaps. And all in all, I think Camarda has an absolute bomb of a leg. He was one of the best punters in the league this year. I would say at the very least one of the best young punters in the league this year, and I think the Bucs have a real winner here, a guy who can help out the team get better field position, pin teams in their own territory, deep in their own territory, and just be an absolute force, man. And you always got to watch fake punts, man. I'm going to go back to that play with the botched punt against the Panthers, I believe, when Camarda had, bobbled the snap. It was a bad snap, and Camarda had to pick it up, was running with it, was outrunning defenders essentially, and still got the punt off. Absolutely crazy athletic play, blew up around the nation, and I think that we can just continue to see more crazy plays from Camarda as his career progresses with the Bucs. I think they have a real keeper, at least so far, at the punter position. Then at pick number 157 in the 6th round, the Buccaneers took defensive back Zyon McCollum. And Zyon McCollum was thrusted into action a pretty decent amount this year. He ended up playing 24.71% of defensive snaps for the team this year. That was in part due to some injuries that had happened throughout the year. And, you know, man, McCollum did not put up the best stats in the world. 24 tackles, 1 pass defended, and only starting 3 games, playing in 13 games this year. But all in all, hey, you know, the expectations were not too high for McCollum. He is a very raw prospect who needs time to develop. He's got crazy athleticism. Everybody knows this. He just has to continue to grow and develop for a 5th round pick. The Bucs are going to be missing guys like Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting this offseason. We'll probably be talking about that a lot in separate videos, but I think McCollum definitely showed some potential and certainly a lot of athleticism as a potential piece somewhere down the line. He also did make a couple of good plays on special teams. I want to talk about that as well. 49.57% of special team snaps. Did make a couple of plays in that role as well, so got to give him credit for that also. But Zyon McCollum, pretty decent young cornerback. We'll see how he goes moving forward. Then, with the second to last pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with the 218th overall pick in round 6, took tight end / fullback, ? Kieft. And I give this one a C+. I think that Kieft was serviceable in his role. Right? He played 60% of special team snaps. He played 21.79% of offensive snaps, and he did what he was asked to do, which was be a blocker. In terms of receiving stats, he didn't do much, 10 targets, 7 receptions, 80 yards. Did have a touchdown, though, so shout out to Kieft for that, but started 12 games, played in 17. He got a healthy amount of playing time, right? But I can only grade a guy so highly based on just a couple of things, special teams and blocking, and C+. He did fine in his role, and he didn't necessarily do anything above expectations, didn't necessarily do anything below expectations, was right on cue, and that's pretty much a C+ grade in my opinion. So, all in all, I think Kieft, he is going to be an interesting guy moving forward, a good blocker, which is always a good thing to have, especially with all the reports coming out that Todd Bowles wants to run the football more moving forward. You're going to need some pretty solid blockers. Kieft's going to be in there, and I think he will continue to be serviceable in that role. Finally, you had Andre Anthony, who did not make the Buccaneers' final roster. He was taken with the 248th overall pick in the 7th round. Don't have a grade for him because he did not finish his time, or he really didn't even play he didn't play a single game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. I'm trying to figure out where he is. I don't necessarily know where Andre Anthony is now, if I'm being completely honest with you. I believe he was last seen with the Chicago Bears on their practice squad all the way back in September. So he may be a young developmental pass rusher for them. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, he is currently slated as a free agent following the season. So, going to be interesting to see what Andre Anthony does, but he didn't play any time with the Buccaneers, so I just have an NA for that. All in all, folks, it was a fine rookie class. I think that you had some solid guys do some fine things. I think Logan Hall was good in rotation. I think Rachaad White and Cade Otton really exceeded expectations in their rotational roles. I think that Camarda was fantastic as a punter this year. I think Zyon McCollum showed enough. I gave him a C grade, by the way. I might have forgotten to say that, but I gave him a C. He showed a couple of nice things, especially on special teams, that I think could show some improvement moving forward. Kieft, C+. I think he did a fine job in his role. Andre Anthony, we couldn't give a grade to, but and then, of course, Luke Goedeke with the D. That was only the one, I would say, major disappointment in this coaching staff in this draft class was Luke Goedeke. Words are hard, folks. Luke Goedeke was, in my opinion, the only big disappointment in this draft class, okay? That is how I feel. And he got benched. We'll see how he does the second go-around battling for that starting left guard position. Robert Hainsey's also going to be battling for that as well. But all in all, a lot of these guys showed a lot of positive things that I think they can use moving forward and grow in potential roles as soon as this upcoming season, because a lot of guys are going to be free agents. Guys might have to step up, and they have a lot of guys who might be able to do so as early as next season. What do you guys think about this draft class? What grades would you give the Buccaneers rookies? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. I would love to hear them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. And I will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.